Hello, everyone. How are you doing? Welcome to Facts and Two Cents. This is Petal. Hope you are all well, doing great. Oh, what's going on with our faves? We don't know. They are quiet, which we love. When they are in between doing whatever it is they're doing, we are happy that they are quiet and enjoying their life, whatever they're doing, being, at peace away from the nonsense of the world. And so we just happy about that. But other stuff is going on around, not necessarily connected with them, but people that they are connected with in some way. And that one of part of that is Suits. Yeah, Suits cast, they are doing great. And it's good to see them out and about doing work, looking fabulous. And so this site popped up last night, and they are going to be in a commercial for, I guess it's a cosmetic line called Elf. Don't ask. I have no idea. I use cheap cosmetics. The little bit I use like powder, so I don't know much about cosmetics. But they are doing a cosmetics commercial and they look fabulous. So that's Sarah and Gina, and I never remember his name. I only know it was Lewis. Beyond that, I never remember his name. How I think it's Rick Hoffman. I think it's Rick Hoffman. Okay. I think that's his name. Anyway, sorry. I should have rechecked, and I just realized that I didn't. But I think it's Rick Hoffman. If I'm wrong, it's Lois on Suits. Anyway, so they have been summoned back to court. They And so I love Gina with the her card says served, so she's been served. And I love it. So apparently this is going to be a commercial that's going to be showing during, as you can see, February 11th, and February 11th is the Super Bowl, so it's going to be showing during the Super Bowl. So I look forward to seeing their ad. It looks fantastic. They all look fantastic. Now I'm not sure what cosmetics Louis is wearing, but but I am excited to see it. I am definitely looking forward to seeing the commercial. So, and it's wonderful. Again, I love the fact that they are finally able to benefit from all the amazing thing that the show did from June when it was released until now. It's still going, and I'm so happy because, again, one of the things I was a little bit sad about was that because of the strike, they weren't able to take advantage of the major publicity that the show had and the major things it was doing as it was streaming on Netflix and Peacock. The massive amount of views obviously coming from Netflix. And so it's great to see that. So hopefully the others are going to be, that they've gotten, or at least getting great offers that they can benefit off of this. So kudos for them. Looking forward to see their commercial. And to talk about the Suits, this also dropped yesterday. Now, not only that they've been doing amazing things since the show premiered on Netflix in June, it has been the number one show in 2023. It is amazing. I mean, again, a lot of shows start from January to December. They didn't start again until June. So they literally had half a year to do the incredible things that they've done. And look, after a record-breaking run atop the streaming charts in the summer and fall, Suits can claim one more milestone at the end of 2023. It is the most streamed show ever. In the course of and I think my little thing at the bottom there just kind of got in the way of whatever it is I was trying to say. Not sure why that happened, but it just did. And I'm just gonna move my banner, and that's scrolling in the bottom there. If you have not subscribed, please go ahead and subscribe and click the notification bell so you know when we drop a video. Like and share this video and join the channel. So I'm just going to move it and bring back the bar later on. But I accidentally covered up. I don't know why that happened. It sort of shifted. But they the number one show for 2023. Again, with only 6 months of airing, it's the number one show. And the others have like 12 months, and that's only had 6. And so the article goes on to say there's no denying, though. I mean, they were comparing just how incredible the views are in Netflix compared to the other streaming outlets, and how Netflix is the primary driver of people viewing shows. People run to Netflix before they go to anybody else, and so this article is picking up after talking about that. It says there's no denying though that Netflix is the primary driver of viewing of those shared titles. It is the easiest to discern with Suits, the former USA Network legal drama that exploded after its Netflix premiere. For the year, the show racked up 57.7 billion minutes of viewing, the highest year-end total Nielsen has ever recorded in its 4 years it has released annual streaming total. Suits finished ahead of the 57.13 billion minutes viewing for The Office in 2020, its final year on Netflix in the United States. And again, Office had the whole year. Suits only had 6 months. Again, The Office would have been huge because that was their final year, so everybody want to jump in and watch it. But again, Suits, 6 months, beat The Office, and it's amazing what they have accomplished. So I'm so happy to see them doing commercials, and hopefully the others are getting incredible a number of work and benefit from, look, you just want to see people benefit from their hard work, and they deserve it. So kudos to them. And so you go Suits, and I still have to get out of season 2, so I will get there. I will definitely get there. What else is going on? Our Sussexes, let's go back to our Sussexes. Harry may be going back to court, and if they don't work this out outside of court, or if they don't work this out and the Mirror or the MGN does not meet Harry's demands, Harry is apparently willing to go right back to court, and he's willing to take the stand again. And so this article dropped a couple days ago. Says Prince Harry's lawyer seeks 2.5 million in fees after win in tabloid phone hacking case. And so this headline could be a little misleading, because when you read the context of, or at least the article, you see it's a little bit different from what the headline is saying per se. A little bit. It says the fees that we just talked about, that 2.5 million pounds, or 2.5 million dollars, actually, it's Huffington Post US. The fees being sought are mainly for the broader claim brought by the Mirror by all of the claimants, and not the legal cost of preparing for and presenting Harry's specific cases, because his claims have not been fully resolved. Fancourt, who is the Judge Fancourt, found that the Mirror used unlawful information gathering in 15 of the 33 newspaper articles about Harry that were examined at trial. Those articles were selected as a representative sample from among nearly 150 articles that he said invaded his privacy. Sherborne, who is David Sherborne, Prince Harry's attorney, asked that a trial be scheduled to take up the remaining 115 articles. Mirror indicated in court papers that it had made a settlement offer to Harry that could not be disclosed. Once those claims are resolved, then Harry will be able to seek additional lawyer fees. So this 2.5 is really for the broader, there are like over 100, I think, claimants that are a part of this case. So this 2.5 million is for that broader thing, and it's not for Harry's. Harry's claim is not yet settled, as they said when he went and testified. They were only looking, the judge only allowed them the 33 article as a sample of, out of 150 articles. So when you heard Piers Morgan saying like, oh, there's only one there were, one article that had anything to do with me, and out of 33, yeah, well, that's just 33 articles out of 150 that they hadn't even touched yet. And so David Sherborne, Harry's attorney, is now seeking a trial for the remaining 115 articles. And the Mirror is trying to, let's settle this out of court. And so maybe they will. But with all those settlements, a lot of times with those settlements come with the stipulation that you have to be silent. You cannot speak about what went down. You can't speak about what they did. Basically shut you up. They basically pay you off. And so, knowing Harry, I don't suppose he will take something like that, but we'll wait and see. We'll wait and see what comes out of that. And then it's also saying that after those 115 articles, after that situation, either they go back to court, and again, I read in an article where David Sherman said that, at least I think it's David Sherman that says that Harry's willing to come back and take the stand again over those 115 articles. And so we'll wait and see what they're going to do, if Harry was going to come back or if they're going to take the settlement. So we shall see. And then we obviously know the other court cases against the Sun and the Mirror still moving forward. So interesting. Byline Times dropped this yesterday because after Harry's victory over the Mirror, we know Harry put out that statement that David Sherman read outside the courthouse about, Harry, talk about slaying the dragons. And part of that speech, or part of that statement, I should say, is Harry calling on the Metropolitan Police and prosecutors to do their job, to do their duty, to investigate and possibly hold accountable the editors of the Mirror, and all those people who were part of this illegal news gathering that destroyed so many people's lives and invade their privacy, that they should start reinvestigating and opening up this case. And so we haven't heard anything about it. And then yesterday, Byline Times dropped this article. Calls grow for police probe into Piers Morgan and Mirror editors. A lawyer, hacking victim, and ex-police officer joined Prince Harry in demanding action into MGN's crime and alleged Leveson inquiry lies. Scotland Yard is faced with growing calls to reinvestigate Piers Morgan and a generation of former Mirror newsgroup editors for systemic newsroom criminality and years of cover-up, Byline Times can reveal. As claimants saw a bid to overturn a time bar in hundreds of potential civil suits against the publisher adjourned yesterday, victims, lawyers, and former detectives joined Prince Harry's demand for the police and the Crown Prosecution Service to do its duty. It follows a significant High Court victory for the Duke of Sussex last month, in which Mr. Justice Fancourt found industrial-scale unlawful information gathering, or UIG, went on in MGM's 3 national newspapers between 1996 and 2011. Among extensive findings of wrongdoing, the judge says MGM executives not only knew about the illegal activity and could and should have stopped it, but instead of doing so, turned a blind eye to what was going on and positively concealed it. Now, media lawyer Jonathan Code, actress Denise Welch, and former Crimes Watch presenter, journalist, and police officer Jackie Haynes are calling on Metropolitan Police Commissioner Mark Rowley to reopen Operation Golding, the phone hacking investigation that saw Morgan interviewed in February 2014. So these people, including Denise Welch, who had her hotel room bugged and hacked and her phone hacked, and I mean, she talked about going through a horrible time when her son was in the hospital and they hacked her, and she just was so distraught, obviously, and talking about the friend she lost because she thought it was one of her, I think, her co-stars or something, and whatever she was working on that leaked stuff to the press. And this stuff damages so many things. And she was being horrified because, again, this was a time when her son was in the hospital and going through such trauma with a family member ill, and then having to deal with the fact that this newspaper hacked you. And so we will see what the police, we've seen the Metropolitan Police turn a blind eye to especially white men in power. They tend to not do anything. So we will see if the pressure keeps mounting, if they will reinvestigate, reopen this case and investigate the likes of Piers Morgan and others. We shall see. Fingers crossed on that one. Fingers crossed. It is high time, especially Piers Morgan is investigated. This man has never had to face the consequences for the things that he's done. Never. Instead, he has failed up every single time. So we shall see. Moving on, talk about a little bit more of the press nasty behavior, Martin Bashir. We know Martin Bashir. BBC released 3,000 emails about Princess Diana's interview scandal. There is a reporter who filed an FOI for Freedom of Information so that the BBC was forced to release 3,000 emails and other documents surrounding Martin Bashir and how he got the interview with Princess Diana and all of the controversies that happened afterwards, and then Lord Dyson and all the correspondence with Martin Bashir over all of that mess. And so by filing the FOI, they were able, and they actually, I think the BBC really fought to get this, not to be released. And then the judge finally was like, no, you have to release it. So they released 3,000 emails and stuff, some of them apparently heavily redacted. So who knows what they will get out of it. But I guess they seem to think they are going to get something out of it. So this is some of what the article says about it. Martin Bashir blamed professional jealousy for controversy surrounding the way he secured an interview with Princess Diana. Newly released emails also show the journalist thought his class and race played a role in the scandal. His comments were written in 2020 before the documentaries examining the 1995 interview were broadcast. The BBC has released around 3,000 emails relating to the interview after a Freedom of Information request. In 2021, an inquiry found that Bashir had secured the Panorama interview through deception and faking documents. This is part of his email writing to one of his bosses at BBC. And this is what he said in the email. It says, at the time, it was also apparent that there was some irritation that a second-generation immigrant, non-white, working-class roots should have the temerity to enter a royal palace and conduct an interview. It would have been so much easier if one of the dynastic families, the Dimbleby, etc., had done it. Bashir also told Mr. Cedar he had been praised by staff of the then Prince of Wales, now King, for not giving interviews around the program. He wrote in the email, since returning to the UK in 2015 and rejoining the BBC in 2016, senior staff in the Prince of Wales office, to my surprise, have expressed their gratitude for my declining all requests to discuss the interview. This also goes on in the email. As I am sure you'll understand, the words of the late Princess Diana have been deployed to attack surviving members of the royal family, particularly the Prince of Wales, something that I have never wanted to do. And so these were part of his emails. And it's funny because, yes, Martin Bashir, what he did was, oh my gosh, it was unethical in every sense of the word, forging checks and all of that stuff to get to prove to Diana that people were spying on her and all of that stuff. Honestly, I really don't even think he needed to do any of that stuff because they were spying on her. They were doing all those things. So I feel like that was kind of like maybe a waste of time because they were actually doing that stuff. So for the press especially to be like, oh my God, I can't believe Martin Bashir would do, when you hear people or you see news outlets like the Daily Mail and the Telegraph and the Sun and the Express screaming about what Martin Bashir did. Yes, what he did was extremely unethical, extremely to the max. But it is no different from what the others are doing. I mean, gosh, Prince Harry has all the big ones in court right now for what? Illegal news gathering. Hacking, blagging, getting investigators and paparazzi people to go spy on people. I mean, all of that stuff. Planting devices on people's cars, planting devices on people's homes, blagging people's medical information, their phone records, all of that stuff. These people have no ground to stand on to be screaming at Martin Bashir, no matter how unethical he is, because they're all the same, and a lot of them are worse. And so I agree with him that his race and his class has a lot to do with it, because if it was the Dimblebys that did it, nobody would say a word. If they were the ones that got the interview with Princess Diana, there wouldn't be this hubbub. They really wouldn't. I do believe it's right, because when this whole thing blew up, and then, Prince William came out and did that whole thing where he basically kicked his mother under the bus, and then the British press was going crazy, like, oh my gosh, they've never heard of this unethical behavior before. That was one of the things I said. The reason they're doing it is because this is a brown person. This whole thing is because of his race. And I didn't think of the class situation there at the time, but I believe it's completely right. Did what, is what he did with forging all of those documents? No, obviously it was unethical. Obviously it was wrong. Obvious. But it's no different from what the rest would have done. If he was a white man, none of them would have been screaming about it at all, because they're all the same. So this all fake outrage about Martin Bashir is ridiculous. And I do believe it's racist. It's because of that. That's why this whole thing is again, if one of the Dimblebys or one of the other storied families, like he said, were the ones that went in there and got that interview. And the thing about it, if any one of them had the opportunity to interview Diana in the way Martin Bashir did, they would have jumped at it. They would have jumped at it. And I think there is a lot of jealousy as well. So I totally believe when he said he blamed professional jealousy. I totally believe that, because it's evident that they would have jumped at the opportunity. And again, with this whole thing with the forgery and all of that stuff, yes, it is unethical. But Princess Diana said what she said. It doesn't negate what she said. No matter what they say or do to Martin Bashir, Princess Diana spoke her truth. And that negates nothing in what she said. And so again, and even Lord Dyson, when he put the report out, he said, look, if it wasn't Martin Bashir that she gave that interview to, she would have given it to someone else. He just happened to be the one that she chose. And they don't like it because he's a brown person. So that's what all this mess is about. And it's very interesting that he talks about someone in King Charles's office called him to thank him for not doing interviews discussing the interview. And it's very interesting to see their, having William come out and do that whole press conference thing when Lord Dyson's report came out. And it's just like, you people are so fake. And it's very interesting. That's like, they contact him and express gratitude for him not really going out there and continue to bash. And he even said, look, he had no intention of them using the interview to attack other members of the royal family. What Princess Diana said was enough. He didn't need to do anything else around that interview. What she said was enough. And so, but it was very interesting. I don't think anybody has ever said, or anybody has ever mentioned about the royal family. Prince Charles's office, the then Prince Charles, now King Charles office, contacted and thanked Martin Bashir. So very, very interesting thing coming out of that. But again, a lot of this, I'm sure, is a distraction from what is actually going on in the royal family right now. And talk about the royal family. A couple of days ago, King Charles and Camilla did their pap walk out of the hospital. I broke out laughing when I saw that, because we know they were in the hospital. King Charles was in the hospital for an enlarged prostate. I guess he got a surgery or minor surgery, whatever it is that they get to correct that. And again, I praised him because I thought being open about something like that could help, especially for men. You know, men historically hate to deal with their medical issues, and to see someone of his stature talking about prostate, being open about it, going to the hospital, taking care of it, coming out of it, helps to other men to be like, okay, well, if King Charles could do it, well, surely I could go get myself checked out and hopefully get it. If something is there, get it early so it protects my health. And so for me, there was a lot of things I could knock this man, and I have knocked him numerous times for a lot of the mess he has created in so many ways. This I can't knock him for. This is good. This can save lives, and I totally applaud him for doing that. And again, so many, especially men and women, but especially women are more, let's go check out my body thing. Men are just not. And so and again, according to the NHS, they had thousands of people calling in about their prostate. And it's just like, that's fantastic. That's what the royal family couldn't be doing more of. Really, being making themselves of value to the community. So this is one good thing that I can't knock King Charles on this. He did good. So I gotta give him props for that. Even in my pettiness, I have to give him props. And so we know he went into the hospital on the 26th because, Royal Communications put out their thing that he entered. The funny thing with him going into the hospital on the 26th is that the tabloids, which is a lot of them are, especially the Daily Mail, that's especially Kate and William's tabloid. Their go-to is Rebecca English, and not this person, not this Rebecca, the other Rebecca English. And she went off over and over about how the King Charles, when he went to the hospital, he went and visited Kate and all of this nonsense. I don't see that anywhere in this royal communication. I am literally just going by their communication. They said nothing about this man visiting Kate. Nothing. But the tabloids would have you believe that, oh, what a joy it was and how great their relationship is because he went to visit Kate. It's already a little bit creepy that the both of them went to the same hospital. I talked about that hospital before with that bogus person that the people had who just happened to find this person going through the same surgery that Kate, or at least they had in the same recovery time as Kate having her abdominal surgery. And I'm like, how did they exactly find this person who just happens to have a and it's just like, and then proceeded to heap praise up and praise up and praise up and praise about this hospital. It's just all a little bit too choreographed, and it makes you go And so King Charles went to the same hospital. It's just like, oh, okay. And then, leaving the hospital, obviously, on the 29th, which is Monday, he left the hospital. That's him and Camilla walk out smiling triumphantly, doing their pep walk and everything. And apparently, and I wasn't following, I don't even have the photos for it, but apparently during his three-day stay in that hospital, Camilla visited him 5 times. They even have photos of her coming, visiting the hospital and visiting her husband. Apparently, she just wanted to keep him company. And so she went there 5 times in 3 days. And there is evidence for it, which is so much more than we could say for William and Kate. We saw him one day, the 18th. That one day, last Thursday, visiting, and that was it. And again, back to Rebecca English, trying to convince the world that no, he was there every single day. He visited her every single day. And the reason why the kids can't go there is because they can't, because they are banned, so they can't go. But William was there every single day. There is not one photographic evidence or one evidence of anybody saying that we're claiming and verifying that William was there, other than back to Rebecca English. And the squad is actually mocking her right now for this whole ridiculous thing where she talked about there's actually a clip of it on X about her saying that, she was on her way to a medical procedure as well. And she just happened to be in the right place at the right time when she saw Prince William zooming by with his motorcade on his way to see Kate, of course. And she doesn't know if anybody else saw him, but she saw him. And she just happened to be there at that moment, the perfect moment to see Prince William zooming by to visit Kate. I don't know who these people think they're. I mean, again, it's the Daily Mail, so I'm sure they're like, well, our readers are stupid anyway. We can tell them anything and they'll believe anything. So the squad is currently mocking her about all the places that she saw Prince William rushing off to see Kate. And so it's quite funny, and using Rebecca's English's photo. So it's very funny on X. I've seen some of them and just cracking up. So anyways, nobody saw Kate. Nobody has seen William. And, not only did they not see them, apparently this girl in the back car, there's her assistant. They saw her driving away, and then apparently the guy in the bottom is a security guard driving away with some kind of plant that was supposedly in her hospital room. And now their friendly paper, the Daily Mail. That's their mouthpiece, and that has been their mouthpiece. So we'll go with the Daily Mail, their mouthpiece. Inside Cottage, where Kate, and they're showing Adelaide Cottage in the back there. Inside Adelaide Cottage, where Kate Middleton will recover. The grade through listed royal residence dating back to 1831 may not be the best place for the Princess of Wales. So now they're throwing out hints that Kate may not actually be there. It's very funny. It's just like, y'all could just tell the truth. That's all. You don't need to do all this nonsense. You do, or maybe they're doing it because they want to just, keep people guessing. Maybe they figure that's going to keep the attention on and, keep them in the news. Or maybe that's how they're going. That could be it too. Maybe they're just conning all of us to just keep talking about them so that, it makes them interesting because everybody's wondering, where is Kate? What's going on with Kate? And then I didn't even bring it in because I just thought it was sick. I don't even want to have anything to do with that article. Their friendly paper, again, the Daily Mail, writing about some girl, and this girl's death was in like 2020, relating her death from this. Apparently, she had the same kind of morning sickness that Kate had when she was pregnant and was going to the hospital. This girl had the same kind of morning sickness, and whatever treatment she got affected her so badly that she committed suicide. And they attached Kate names onto it. And it was just, everybody's like, what? And so, again, it just lends credence. Again, we talked about Angela Levin, even though whatever Angela Levin says, you take with a whole cup of salt, but the fact that the analogy that she used is going back to when Prince William was there helping his mom, who was having, mental difficulties because of what Charles and Camilla and others were doing to her, and how he took care of her. And I was wondering at the time, why would she use that? I mean, Kate has been in the hospital before while married to William. When she had morning sickness, why didn't she use that? And there's been hints upon hints upon hints that whatever Kate is going through, whether physical, whatever, that a lot of it may have to do with her mental health. And then you see this crazy article and you're like, excuse me? And I saw the headline. I didn't read the article, so I don't really know what happened and all of that stuff. But I think it was just sick for them to just sort of like want to attach her name to it. And it was weird because that's their paper, that's been their mouthpiece. And for them to attach her name to a girl who committed suicide, it's not. And I thought when I first saw the headline that it was a story that just happened. I didn't realize it was a story from like 2 years ago. And it was just, so it's like they are trying and they are drip feeding people these things that's going on with Kate, but can't quite come out and say, well, this is really not about physical, it's something going on with Kate mentally, which we all suspected, but again, it was just a little bit weird and sick. And again, with stuff like this, I always say it is so much better to just tell the truth. Then you don't have to have these people drip feeding all of this stuff and having all of these speculations about your health. And so this is the last time I'm talking about Kate and her health. I wish her whether it's physical or mental or whatever she's going through, that I wish her a speedy recovery. And I also wish King, I'm not here for these people, but again, we're all human beings and nobody wants to see someone either going through physical and mental ailments in hospital or whatever. I just wish them well. But there's a lot going on with the royal family, and for them, it's like, people, just tell the truth. That's all you need to do. And you don't have to go through all of this rigmarole. Anyway, moving on from the royal family and their mess. On to this little messy issue here. So on Sunday, I think it was Saturday or Sunday night, this stuff dropped, and it's really wild. We've talked about conservation before on this channel, and you guys know how I feel about conservation. For me, conservation is modern day colonization. And that's how I have always felt about it. I've always felt that, or when people from Europe or the US, white people whose descendants of colonizers, this is kind of what you expect to see, because they are just basically carrying on what they know and what their family has been doing for years. And I always am suspect when I come across these conservation companies and these these game parks and stuff that in Africa, all over Africa, where you go on these safaris and all of that stuff, where a bunch of rich folks can go and see those exotic animals, and you can stay there, and it's all posh and stuff. My concern has always been the community. Is the community around the park benefiting from the park? And a lot of times the answer is no. And I've always been against these conservation groups taking up swaths of land, and usually the prime land in African countries, and then locking out the people in the community, locking out the animals in the community. The indigenous people of the community, of the park, don't benefit. And yet the people who are running the park are making millions of dollars off of these parks. So when I saw this story, was I shocked? No. Was it disappointing? Yes. Because when we talked about this, I did an episode, I don't know, months ago about the same thing. I was crossing my fingers that African parks, because we talked about it, like they they do things differently, and they really, really work with the community. And I was skeptical but hopeful. And so when I saw this, I wasn't surprised at all. Was it disappointing? Yes. And so this is a little bit about it. And one thing I know that, the people that did it, and we're going to talk about that in a second, about, Daily Mail, or the Mail on Sunday is the one that initially dropped it. And so I'm not going to read their report, because we know why the Mail on Sunday would be doing this, because for obviously reasons, and why they would put Prince Harry's name a part of it. One, because Prince Harry is suing them. So we know the reason why they're the ones going after the story. So we'll talk about that in a second, but we'll deal with this part first. So this is from the Sunday Times. And this is what their take on, the Mail on Sunday article and other information. It says human rights campaigners have urged Prince Harry to step down from the board of a conservation organization while it investigates allegations that the park rangers raped and beat indigenous people in the Congo Basin. Survival International said it wrote to the Duke of Sussex in May last year, when he was president of African Parks, flagging concerns that the Baka people, which I think were originally called the Pygmies people, were being violently abused by armed guards employed by the charity. The campaigners also sent Harry a video message from a Baka man named Ayaya, who claimed the eco guards were stopping us from going into the forest. I'd like whoever it is sending all those people here to hear what it is like. I want the person who is in charge of the eco guards and gives them their orders to hear this. Now there is only torture in the forest. The campaigner said that Harry responded within a fortnight with an initial sympathetic letter promising to escalate concerns to the most senior rank of the organization, including the chief executive, Peter Fernhead, a Zimbabwean conservationist who was a guest at the Duke and Duchess of Sussex wedding. One woman, Ella Hearn, claimed she was raped by a guard 3 years ago while still holding on to her 4-week-old baby. It was reported that her attacker was dismissed after an internal investigation and jailed. However, he served only 2 months behind bars, according to the report. Another man claimed he was tortured and beaten when guards found him collecting honey for his family. And so the whole thing with this, again, with Survival International, is the organization that they are really an anti-conservation group that documents abuses and all of those things. And so they're they sent Harry a letter back in last May, and they said Harry promised to advance the letter. He had promised to get in touch with it and send it off and alert those who are headed that can do something about it and open an investigation on all of those things. And according to this, one of the people who said she was raped, that the person was fired. He was also jailed, and but he only served 2 months behind bars. And so it's one of those things where it's kind of like, okay, The park did their job in making sure that this case was settled. The park did their job in making sure that, the guard was jailed and stuff. What their human survival is saying, this is a systemic problem. It's not just about, jailing a few guards. It's about changing how they work and changing how they work with the community around the park, in that working with the community, as opposed to kicking them out from the space and putting guards around it, and they cannot have access because they are the indigenous people of the park. And it's kind of like the same thing when William went to Belize and the Mayan people were screaming at him to get off their land. This is the same kind of thing. This is the exact same thing that they're claiming is happening in Congo right now. And as you know, remember, Congolese are my people. That's where my line came from. So I'm a little sensitive to this. And so just to put it out there. And so again, it's the same kind of thing where they're saying that the fauna and flora and fauna were doing the exact same thing. And they put these guards around where they block people that is their land, from coming in to what they term protected land or conservation land. And so this is what they're saying. All this stuff is happening where they can't access their land, and plus the guards is raping and beating them. And so they sent this letter to Harry. And one of the things that's very interesting is here, the man Ayaya, who said, his thing is, I want those people who are in charge of the guards and who give them the orders to hear this. And so when Survivor said, we sent this letter to Harry, Harry said he is going to escalate it to the most senior ranks of the organization. And he's going to do that to make sure that they take care of this situation. So this Human Rights Watch is, again, calling for Harry to step down. Like, why? This is the question I have for Human Rights Watch. Why would you call for simply Harry to step down? If you looked at African parks, every country have their own board. Well, they have the overall board, and then every park, a board for the park. So there are I think 21 parks or something like that right now. And they all have their park boards. So in order for something to happen, underground, you do exactly what this man say. You go to the people who are literally over the people who are committing these atrocities. The first way you go is like the people who are around there. And so he is saying, I want those in charge to hear this. And so when they sent the letter to Harry, it's like he said he was going to do that. And that's what he's going to do. But they said, because when was a few months ago, Harry became one of the board members, this is what prompted them to be like, okay, he's not going to do anything. That was not the result that they wanted to have, because, they felt like when he was president, they sent the letter. How could he, knowing about these abuses, decide he's going to want to be a member of the board? And so they're like, well, let's escalate it. And that's what they're claiming. That's why they went public with it. And because now they're saying that we want him to step down in hopes that if he steps down, it will send a message to African Park that whatever is happening, what their guards are alleged to be doing, is not acceptable and they need to change it. So they're calling for him. Never mind that there are tons of boards for the park, and then there are over them, there's like the board that for the overall African parks. There are tons of people all over the world. Yet the only person that they are going after and the only name that they're attaching to this is Harry. Not the people who run the park, not the people who are overseeing the literal parks, not the ones overseeing the entire organization of African parks. None of their names are attached to this at all. None of them at all. The only person's name is attached to it is Harry's name, who doesn't even live in the country, who's not even living on the continent. And so, which makes it all like, okay, if you want something done, why is he the person? Yes, he has a name and a profile, but he's not the person he's in Congo to investigate. This is not the person who is in law enforcement to enforce this. He's not the person who is over the guard. So why is that the person you're calling to step down? So let's go move ahead on this. And so African Parks put out this statement. It says, statement from the board and CEO of African Parks regarding allegations of human rights abuses by rangers in Odzala Kokua National Park. African Parks has a zero tolerance policy for any form of abuse and is committed to upholding the rights of local and indigenous people. Allegations of misconduct are thoroughly investigated and acted on, and all of our parks are managed with a central philosophy of awareness, sensitivity, commitment to upholding the rights of local people. We are aware of the serious allegations regarding human rights abuses by eco-guards against local people living adjacent to the Odzala Kakwa National Park in the Republic of Congo, which have recently received media attention. We became aware of these allegations last year. Remember, they said they sent the letter to Harry last year, last May? It says, we became aware of these allegations last year via a board member. They got this from Harry, who received a letter from Survival International. So Harry did exactly what he said he was going to do. He sent it on to them. He says, we immediately, when they received the letter, we immediately launched an investigation through an external law firm based on the information we had available, while also urging Survival International, the charity, to provide any and all facts that they had. It's unfortunate that they have chosen not to cooperate despite repeated requests, and we continue to ask for their assistance. It goes on to say, this is an active, ongoing investigation that is our highest priority as an organization. And we encourage anyone with knowledge of these abuses to report them to us or to Congolese law enforcement authorities, which will assist with the investigation and ensure that the perpetrators of any abuses are brought to justice. So what I'm seeing here is like, yes, they sent the letter to Harry. Harry did exactly what he said. He escalated it up to the head of African Parks, and they immediately opened an investigation, which they said is ongoing. But what is very interesting is that Survival International now wants to wash their hands of it. They're like, I told you, I'm not giving you any information. I'm not passing any information on to you. I'm not passing any specific details on to you. It is your job. In fact, they literally said that. It is not our job to do African Parks work for them. They're an organization with multi-million dollars. They can go off and do their own investigation. We basically don't ask us anything. We're not going to give you any information about something that we just, abuses we just alerted you to. And so it is very suspect to me that Survival International, if they really cared about the people that they're supposedly advocating for, why would you then turn around and refuse to engage with the people that you're telling them this is what your company is doing, but then refuse to give them any specific details, refuse to cooperate when they're asking you questions about what you're alleging. You refuse to give them any information. You refuse to give them details. Like, if you're really an advocate of a people that someone just, got beaten or raped, whatever, why would you then refuse to give them any information or refuse to cooperate in the investigation if you really cared about the actual people? Right? So it appears to me that this is about them. They're, again, an anti-conservation group. They want this squashed. I'm here for that. I'm here for this stuff. But when it comes to specifically, bringing charges or claiming that someone did something, you can't just accuse someone of something and then refuse to cooperate when they're trying to investigate the very thing that you bring their attention to. Then it makes it very suspect. Well, why exactly did this one really happen? Or is this something that you just made up because you want to, bring a charge against them and, trying to destroy the organization? It begs the question, like, if I really cared about the actual people, then why would I not want to participate? Why would I not want to give over every information about the situation to help them as they investigate. Yes, the wider investigation has to be Africa Parks, and one of the things Survival is saying is that, well, it's, those abuses they're not new and they're not secret. It's everybody talks about it. Well, yes, but I'm sure there are thousands or if not millions of people that live around the park. Like, who are they speaking to? You can't just go out and throw blanket statement, well, all of you guards are rapists or something, or all of you guards are attacking people. You have to have some specific information when you're dealing with people. You have to be able to say, okay, well, this is the guard, or this is the people, or this is the group of people that did this. And you can't just go blanketing that to everyone else and just sort of accuse everyone who had nothing to do with something. So why would you not want to participate? So it makes, Survival International very suspect for me in this. Their thing also with this is that they're saying that national park, African parks is acting like this is the first time they're hearing about it. And apparently they said that no, they have been alerting African parks since 2013 that there are abuses. But again, you're alerting their abuses, but then you're refusing to say what. So again, African Park said, look, they've been situations, they have heard about it. There have been investigation, at least we have one indication on where people were fired, another one went to jail and all of that stuff. But again, if you know of abuses going on and you are reporting it, at least not then decide, well, okay, I'm just giving off to you and I'm washing my hands. Well, then what do you want the people to do if they don't? Again, there are millions of people around. Who do they go to? That said, Africa Parks need to do a better job of who they have surrounding the parks, who it is that they are hiring, whatever company that they're using to hire to protect the parks. And again, with stuff like this, if you are really working with the community, the people that are guarding your park should be from the community, not armed guards that don't care about the community. Again, I don't know what the company is that they use for their eco guards, but it should be from the community. It should be from the people around, because why? They would care about the people. You would be a lot less likely to do that sort of thing to the people that you have to see on a daily basis. If you're a guard. But if you're hiring, say, people from, another part of the country, whatever, you get what you get. So they need to do a lot better job with the guards. And again, this is not the first conservation group I'm hearing about guards treating people around the community really poorly. This happens not just here, in other organizations as well. And so, I mean, I remember the one in Kenya with the, I think William's former girlfriend, they have also a conservation in Kenya. The same thing. There's the same problem with the people talk about the armed guards that are protecting these lands, and they're protecting it from the people who are around in the community. And so, again, Africa Parks, if what Survivor is saying is true, then Africa Parks failed to really do an overhaul in how they protect the parks. Also respecting the rights of the people who are indigenous to the park. I read in Africa Parks where they have actually, when indigenous group from whatever park refused to give up the park, whatever, they work with them, and if they cannot work, they've actually said walked away from the park. This may be one that they need to walk away from. Who knows? I don't know how they're going to handle it, but this is not good on them. If, as a Survivor said, that they have been talking to them about it since 2013, that this is still the case. I mean, they have to change how they do things and how they communicate with the people around them, which is what they said. That is in their motto. This is what they said. Their whole thing is about the community around them benefiting from the park, not just, little classes here and there, whatever. The community around them need to financially, and this is one of the arguments, that the community around them, like, they would do little things like classes and, lectures and all of that stuff, little things, but financially, the people around the parks live in squalor. And so that is not good. And so if that is absolutely the case, if that's the case, then it's not good, and it does not reflect good on the park. And so And this is from their website. And of course, they're milking this. Survivor International is milking this whole thing. They're also doing a fundraiser and all of that stuff. But this is a little bit, it's, whatever you think of them. This is a little bit from their side. It says Indigenous people across Africa are being beaten, tortured, raped, killed by rangers who are funded and equipped by conservation organizations like WWF, which is World Wildlife Fund, and African Parks. The Baka and other hunter-gatherers who have lived in the Congo rainforest since time immemorial have seen much of their land stolen and turned into national parks and other protected areas. The Baka have been evicted and now live in dire conditions, landless and dependent on others, or turned into tourist attractions. They are banned from entering the rainforest they once called home, while mining, oil, logging companies, and trophy hunters are considered partners or conservation and allowed to carry on with business as usual. Conservation is not supposed to be about destruction. There is another way. Respecting Indigenous people's rights is by far the most effective way of protecting biodiversity. Help us stop these abuses, which amount to a green genocide, as the Baka simply will not survive if this continues. Urge the funded supporters of these destructive conservation projects to stop violating Baka's human rights. And this is part of their fundraiser stuff. Now, the thing with survival, while all of that, I don't doubt this is going on again. This has kind of been a pattern with conservation groups. Again, this is an allegation. I'm taking it for what it is. But again, it's not something that I'm shocked at, because this has been a pattern all around. And the thing with survival, though, where they've lost credibility is who they've teamed up with and why. When you see an organization, one of which is based, one of their branches is based in the UK, and this story went to the Mail on Sunday, the very paper that Harry is suing, and they're the ones that are dropping it. And then you see Survival just continually tweeting and retweeting their articles and doing all of these without really making it about the backers, and without really addressing the people who can really affect change. I like the head of African Parks, or the law enforcement in Congo, or whatever country they're talking about. It's all is about Prince Harry. It's always about how disappointed they are with Prince Harry. It's about how Prince Harry needs to step down. And I thought he was about human rights. And it's all about Prince Harry, a person who does not live in Congo, is not on the continent of Africa, is not in the UK, a person who is not the head of Africa Parks, and therefore has no say in how the law enforcement in Congo work, and how, and bringing whomever it is to justice, the person who has no part in the actual investigation of these things, when that is the person that you are, you make this whole story about him, wanting him to resign because that will send a message and all of that stuff. The crux of it is Prince Harry he's not going to be part of an investigation. He's not the person underground that's going to bring help to the people right now. And again, there are tons and tons of people that are members of the board, wealthy people all around the world, wealthy organizations all around the world that are part of African Parks. Why are you picking on the one person that is, as you can see, suing the Daily Mail and suing the Mail on Sunday? And then that be the paper that has this big exclusive about Harry's charity involved in rape and beating people. And that is your whole thing, and everything you're tweeting is about Harry this and Harry that and Harry this. Then what it looks like is you're using Prince Harry and using his name to just get attention for yourself, get attention for your organization. This is really not about the people. This is about you teaming up with a paper that is the motive for the Daily Mail is to attack and to get revenge on Harry and destroy his credibility any way possible, not just with Africa Parks, because we know one of the big organizations that they've been trying to destroy has been Invictus. And what is happening next year with Invictus is that they are going to be working with the Indigenous community in Canada for the Invictus. So if they can get Harry and destroy Harry's reputation here in dealing with indigenous people in Africa, well, then they get an in to try to do the same with when he is there in Canada and make a big stink in Canada over Invictus Games. This is where this is all thing is leading. This is where this whole thing is. And so when you see them do that, then the charity loses credibility. They lose credibility in the and then they went ahead and posted a video that has nothing to do with Africa Parks. They posted a video that Harry did when he was a teenager for Sente Bali that has nothing to do with Africa Parks whatsoever. And so it's really just, for me, again, going back to their motive, it just really seems like they teamed up with the Mail on Sunday to really just destroy. Maybe survival, they had proper intent of they're just trying to do their thing, but by teaming up with the Mail on Sunday, the Mail on Sunday have one goal. It's to destroy Harry and Meghan. That is very clear. They have been doing it and trying to do it at least for the last how many years? 6 years. And so it's very sad to see that again, another charity decide to team up with a tabloid to destroy a person, and which is what they're doing. Again, there are tons and tons and tons of board members that are a part of Africa Parks. Tons of them. And organizations that are part of Africa Parks. Just look at their website. They're overall board members and park board members who are a lot closer to the situation than Harry would ever be. Harry's not even living on the continent of Africa. But yet, they chose Harry and using to the Daily Mail to destroy a man's name for it. I am not here for conservation, but I'm also not here for destroying somebody and being vindictive against someone using a charity. And then in the end, what ends up happening is even though you're claiming that you're doing something good, you're simply just using the people of Congo, using the abused people for an agenda of attacking another person. Because this night right now, it just feels like, oh no, you're just trying to bring attention and raise money for your organization. This is not about the people of Congo. This is about you getting attention using Prince Harry's name. This is your 15 minutes using his name and teaming up with a paper that obviously have a vendetta against him in the name of, oh, we're here advocating for the people of Congo who lives around the spot. This is not about them. And that's what makes it so sick. Because if it is about them, you would do everything you can in your power. When they're asking you for information, you would do everything in your power to work with the parks to make sure whoever is doing this stuff is brought to justice. But you just wiping and washing your hands of it and saying, well, it's your job, you do your job, without giving information in spite of the fact they're repeatedly asking you. And then because you don't get the response you want, you just decide, oh, I'm going to then destroy the person who is the person that alerted the bosses and the top people in the first place. Let's just destroy him because he's not doing what we want him to do. And again, when you team up with the Daily Mail, their whole thing is let's control Harry. This is all part of that. And so it's kind of really, really sick. And, obviously we see on the right there with, again, this is about, when you're dealing with the Mail on Sunday. That's why for me, I cannot take charities that are associated with the UK. That's why I don't support any of them. I would not give my money to anybody, any charity from the UK at all. Because I've seen how they basically work with the tabloids. They do the same thing. They do the same thing. And so it's really sickening. It's really, really sickening. And, again, they may have started out with good intent, but again, the minute you join with the Daily Mail and then just attacking and going after one person, you've already lost me. Now, I care about the people, and I'm hoping that the people in Congo get the help they need, and that African parks, they need to change, and they need to figure out how to work with the community if they haven't already done so. And if not, they need to be kicked out. It's just what it is. And the governments of these countries need to stop giving their lands to Europeans and Americans. Because again, for me, when I'm looking at this is literally modern day colonization. And if Africa Parks, I love Prince Harry to death, but if Africa Parks is not doing the right thing, and if they're not working with the community, and if they're not, the community is not benefiting from what they are doing, and if they're not, the lives of the people in the community, if they're not just getting pittance, and then the parks is getting all these riches from their rich people coming for their safaris and all that stuff. If that's what is happening, then African parks need to be kicked out. The governments of these countries need to kick them out. So it's either they get their acts together or get kicked out. And that's how I see it. And frankly, I wish they would all be kicked out and leave African lands to African people. And stop taking up these lands where people around in the community cannot benefit from it. This is, I would never understand why these governments keep doing this. And, and again, I love Harry to death, and I believe in what he, in a lot of his work, but I am it's like, no, a conservation is a no for me. This is exactly what I was afraid of would happen. I didn't know it was with African parks, but it's what I was afraid of happening. And so they need to clean up their acts and really do what their motto or what their motto says, and really have the people from the park financially, not just with some little, health courses or classes or whatever else they're doing, but the people around the parks financially, their lives should be improving. And if that is not happening, then Africa Parks need to go, period. So that's where I stand on this. I hope it all works out, but Survivor, I'm just going to say no to this organization and really just focus on the people. So anyways, moving on. Talk about colonizers. Back to the royal family. And this happened a couple of days. Oh, actually, this happened yesterday. And I didn't even realize there's this dollhouse that Queen Mary's doll's house. It's housed at Windsor Castle. And I'd never heard of it before. And so I saw it yesterday. I was like, oh, that's interesting. And so Camilla, who has been, she's a book person. She has this book club and all of that stuff. I think she has like a podcast or something like that. I haven't heard. I don't know how it's going. I heard about it a while ago. But anyway, so she had this reception with authors. And so from the royal family, it says the queen host. Whenever they say the queen, I get a little bit like the queen. And it's like, oh, Camilla. Like in my brain, she's, if I hear Queen Camilla, then yeah. But when I hear just the queen, it just is like, it takes me a minute to know, like, what are they talking about? And then I realize it's like, oh, they're talking about Camilla. So the queen hosts authors and illustrators of a new modern day miniature library. And that's the library there that's housed at Windsor Castle. And it says the Queen has hosted a reception at Windsor Castle for authors, illustrators, and binders who have been involved in the new modern-day miniature library collection displayed alongside Queen Mary's Doll's House for visitors to enjoy throughout 2024. And a 24 celebration in its centenary year. And so they invited all of these authors, and I guess they all wrote little books, as you can see that little books there in the middle. They all wrote, stories for these little books. And if you can notice, one of the authors, you can't help miss it there, highlighted, Robert Hardman is one of the authors that were part of that little ceremony, and he was one of the people that wrote a book for that dollhouse. And along with these other people who wrote books for it. And so they were all part of a ceremony at the Windsor Castle yesterday. And it's very, this is the same Robert Hardman who wrote King Charles's book that apparently is not doing very well in sales. Apparently, they were screaming and laughing at Omid's book that had sold, I think it's in its first week, it sold 6,000 copies, cover copies. Robert Hardman's book didn't do much better. It's, in spite of all the positive press it got in the UK and all the ways it talked about, the Queen and how she hated that Harry and Meghan took her name and how her name was all she had. So in spite of all of those things, his book only sold 7,000 something copies, and nobody is talking about that. And so he was part of it. And he, and again, this, when you look at all the things that he wrote and they were saying about Harry and Meghan, seeing him there and knowing he was the one that also wrote the documentary about Charles and Camilla's coronation and all of that stuff, it's very interesting to see. It was just like they're not even hiding the corruption. They're not even hiding the contract anymore. And of course, Robert Hardman is a reporter from the Daily Mail. And it just, there he is at Queen Camilla. And he's like one of the reporters that wrote one of the books that will be in Queen Mary's dollhouse. It's just very interesting. Just all very, very interesting. Anyway, moving on. At this point, I feel like the royal family just they just need to have a hospital pulled up in front of Buckingham Palace. So I did them a one. I pulled up the mobile hospital and parked it in front of Buckingham Palace because I think they need it. Because Prince Edward just came back from South Africa and St. Helena, and he is now taking a short break. And I think it's probably just going to be like a couple of weeks. I think there are other engagements on the book for him, but it was very interesting. And of course, we've talked about Edward before, that he doesn't look well. He looks very unwell. And again, could just be age. It could just be, some people age differently from others, but it just doesn't seem well. And so, but they've announced that he's taking a short break away. So he's going to be away. Charles is away. William is away. Kate is away. And now you're left with the women. It's just like, okay, very interesting. It just, again, it is the royal family. It's not going to be missed. It's not that they do anything that is of any kind of effect. I mean, whether they showed up and had a ceremony for the dollhouse or not, that nobody had ever heard of until yesterday, doesn't affect anybody. So the work that they do really doesn't really affect anyone in any way, shape, or form. So whether they're there or not there, you don't really know, because it has no effect on your life. So, but they like to say that they're important. So anyways, I wish Prince Edward a speedy recovery. And finally, talking about the UK, I saw this the other day and I broke out laughing. There was an incident, apparently, back on the 24th of January, of like a week ago. There was this international incident happen. This American researcher researching about teas made the ultimate faux pas that almost caused a sever in US and UK relationship. And so much so that the US Embassy in the UK had to jump in and avert this crisis. And so they posted on X an important statement on the latest tea controversy. Yes, it was a big thing. And so, as you can see from official US Embassy stamp and everything, an official US Embassy document on the 24th United States Embassy press release. Today's media reports of an American professor's recipe for the perfect cup of tea has landed a special bond with the United Kingdom in hot water. Tea is an elixir of camaraderie, a sacred bond that unites our nation. We cannot stand idly by as such an outrageous proposal threatens the very foundation of our special relationship. Therefore, we want to ensure the good people of the UK that the unthinkable notion of adding salt, yes, salt, to Britain's national drink is not an official United States policy and never will be. Let us unite in our steep solidarity and show the world that when it comes to tea, we stand as one. The United States Embassy will continue to make tea in the proper way by microwaving it. I'm telling you, whoever wrote this, they need a raise. And then X decided to chime in. And it's just like, oh my gosh, maybe it's not the time to chime in. They decided to chime in with community notes. According to American tradition, the only proper way to make tea is by dumping it into the nearest harbor. It's like, oh, community notes, this is not the time. This is not the time to try to be helpful. And then in the bottom, is this note helpful? Like, no, it is not helpful right now. This is not the time to chime in. And it's just, I mean, the whole thing was a riot. I mean, I love this. I love, but that American research is like, how dare you come up with salt? Of all things, salt. It's like for her, the perfect cup of tea is by adding salt into it. Now, mind you, that's very Caribbean because my grandmother used to put salt on my oranges because we're very much into, many flavors on something. But I think salt is going a little much with tea. So, never needless to say, it created an international crisis that the embassy had to step in and correct that. And, we do things the proper way in America. We make tea the proper way by microwaving it. I love it. I absolutely love it. So thank you, Embassy, US Embassy in the UK, for your comic relief. Thank you very much. Anyway, that's it, guys. Thank you so much to our awesome moderators, Lydia Church, Nelly, Karen M, Cookies and Cream, Black Queen. You are awesome. Thank you, thank you, thank you for keeping our space safe. Thank you so much to our wonderful, wonderful 2 Cents crew who support the channel on a monthly basis. You are amazing. Thank you so very much for your support, and all of you who support in the chat and PayPal, Cash App. You are amazing. Thank you all. And if again you're here and you haven't subscribed to our channel, go ahead and subscribe. Click the notification bell so you know when we drop a video. Please like and share the video. Please join the 2 Cents group. That would be also awesome. So thank you, guys. Have a fantastic day. I love you all, and I will chat with you later. Bye.